Yo, what's good? Welcome back to another Roblox Studio video. And today we are going to be looking at how we can make a teleport panel in Roblox Studio. And a teleport panel will allow free players in your game to travel between different locations at the click of a button. And we're going to be looking at how we can do that today. So let's get into it. So first, we need the actual panel itself. So let's enable this. And this is what I've just made off camera. The part, office, and station with the teleport buttons along the side. And if I just put in here, rename this to part, rename this to office. This is just the frame outside of it, by the way. And then the station. So inside of this, we do have the text button. So that's all it is. I'm just renaming this so that we can actually do this with scripting. This doesn't need a name, because that's not going to be important for the script. So what we need to do now is we want to actually make this openable. So if we do text button and well actually instead we can do an image button. We can bring it over here and then we can come over to the creator store and we can choose decal if I can actually find it in the new list. There we go. And then let's search in teleport. Let's see what comes up and we have this. Let's go for this one. Copy asset ID and then inside of the image we can paste that ID in and it will do that. So if I do that and corner, then that's actually a bit nicer. But of course it looks horrible. Let's be honest, it looks ridiculous. So I'm sure you guys can make your own better ones than this. But if I just do this just for the video, let's do that, and that's a bit better. So what we want is when we click this, this needs to open. So let's come into Screen GUI and Local Script. So toggle open UI. So script.parent image button mouse button one click connect function and then script.parent frame visible equals not script.parent frame visible, and the visible variable value is a boolean which is true or false, and this is going to be set to not true or not false, which is the opposite of what it is. Basically just toggles it back and forth, meaning you don't have to make it more complex. That is literally as simple as that can get. So now if we click this, it opens and closes. Very nice. But we want this to be closed when we load into the game. So script.parent.frame.visible equals false. And that is all you have to do to make sure it is turned off when you load in. Blocky code is not a valid member of the server storage. We don't need to worry about that. That is part of these models that I put in. So we're not going to worry about that. But what we do need to worry about is actually clicking on these, as it is not teleporting you. And that is a problem. And that is actually because we haven't scripted it yet. So let's script it. So what we need to do first before scripting it is we need to disable this. So what we want to do is when we click it, we want somewhere to teleport to. Currently we have the part this and this, this and this. And these are models, so it won't work. It has to be a part or a an object that you can actually teleport to, which is like a part object, which you can also go into model and set it as a union. Unions work as well. I recommend you guys just stick with part. So let's make this flat. Let's bring this up a bit to avoid clipping errors. Let's make this completely transparent, and we can also turn off cast shadow, which if it's transparent it won't cast shadow anyway, but I recommend you turn it off just in case. And then what we can do now is we need to anchor this. So let's just anchor it up here to make sure it doesn't fall. Then we need this to be passable. So can collide is false, but can touch needs to stay on. We just don't want to collide with it. So now we can name this part TP or whatever you want. I'm going to duplicate this and bring it over to the office. In the office, let's just put it here and slightly raised above the ground. And let's name this Office TP. And then this next one is going to be the station one. So let's put it in here. Let's put it here and station TP. Very nice. And now what we need to do is we need to raise this above the ground to avoid errors with clipping. So now that we've done that, we can come back into the local script and make this enabled and back into the local script. So now we want to actually sort out the teleporting of the player. So this can be done in the local script. So what we need to do is we need to actually get the player. So local player equals game get service, not get property, players, and then we need to call the local player. And now what we can do is we can go into script dot, so we can also get the location of all of the buttons, which is going to be local frame equals script dot parent dot frame. This will save us having to do script dot parent dot frame dot constantly. So now we can just do frame dot part dot part dot text button dot mouse button one click net function, and then what we want to do is we want to go into game dot replicated storage. So what we need to do, because you can only teleport inside of server scripts, you have to go into replicated storage and then remote event teleport, and then dot teleport fire server, and then we want to fire it to player, and we want to run this and be putting in workspace dot part tp. So now what we can do is we can come over to server script game dot players player added net function player, but instead we can do game dot replicate storage dot teleport dot on server event net function, and then we need the player, then the player variable here can be target player, and then we need the location, which is going to be target, so or location, which is the part in the workspace. So now we need to do this game. So what we need to do, target player colon move dot character colon move to, and we want to move to the location dot position like that. So that is coded for the part. For the part. Currently, if I load in, I am here. We teleport to the part. We successfully go, and then we are raised above the ground to avoid issues with clipping into the ground and building out. If this happens, then you can raise yourself up much higher. But the teleport for the park is working very nicely. So what we can do now is, because this is based on the location, we don't have to customize this anymore. We can copy this, paste it in, and then we can change part to office, and then office. Then we can change this to station and to station TP. So let's test this out properly. So first up, we want to check if the part is successfully still working. It is still working. What about the office? The office is also working very, very nicely. And what about the station? That is working very nicely as well. And that is how you make a teleport system in Roblox Studio using UI and all of that stuff. It's basically just this. You can have as many of these as you want, but I recommend you guys keep this as simple as you possibly can. And if you have a different layout to me, then maybe look at where it is in the list, and then you can logically work out what the directory should be based on this, like frame.part.textbutton dot mouse button one click net function, and that is mainly because the frame here dot part basically means it's looking for a child called part, then text button, and then mouse button one click is the function inside of that, and that is how I'm finding out what I need to be using here. And that is how you make a teleport system in Roblox Studio. If you guys enjoyed, then leave a like, subscribe, let me know what more videos you would like to see, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your day.